We're live.
Ready? I'd like to call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a few modifications to our agenda. First one, Chris Goffnett is going to be replaced by Baker Tilley and maybe some others from the Port Authority, whoever chooses to participate. The amount of the approvals on the payroll will be. Is
I
that,
did it wrong.
yeah, it'll be on the claim docket. Will be reduced by $38,919, and we'll discuss that when we get there. And Andrew Foster is not with us this evening, so he will be removed. With that said, is that it, Chris, I believe?
Yes, that is it.
And if I could get a motion to accept the agenda as modified.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion
I'll second that, Randy.
and a second. All those in favor?
All right.
3-0. Cindy Taylor, public comment.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was on the agenda until late this afternoon.
And
I
Cindy,
have-
Cindy, please state your name.
Oh, Cindy Taylor.
Yeah, it was with the third. You were on the agenda for the third. So everything that was on the third.
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
It's all good, girl. I have a question because I'm being pushed over the edge here. What is the status of the phone service in Perry County? I was on the phone today with AT&T for an hour and 20 minutes. What's the status? What are we doing? I know some folks are working on it. Can we get an update? No?
What was it? What was their response to you?
Where are we? I'm asking you. Aren't you working on that, or who's working on that?
Well,
I'm not being fussy. I just would like to know because it's crazy. These people are paying exuberant amount.
I called
Of phone
AT&T 3 times myself,
How'd that go?
different times. I got 3 different answers. I got no date that it would be done. I do know, I did get out of all 3 of them that they are doing upgrades. And that we don't have any control over.
God bless you.
I know, I mean, we don't have
Because
any
I was
control.
told it would be 10 years
Well,
before they update their services.
they told me they were working on upgrades.
I, like you, am
Or-
getting a different response
Right.
every time I called. And while it's been a few years that I worked with the FCC, I'm an old radio guy. It's been a while for me. I know they will give you the runaround, but here's the stuff that's in my head. Okay, I worry about point of care for people. Those who have to use apps for
Mhm.
medical care. You know, our cell phones are basically medical devices now. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. And if a person can't access that, it could be tragic. You know, and I worry about, I mean, this is the stuff that's in my head. You know, I realize that we've had a really rough 2 weeks. But some of the stuff that I worry about, you know, I see a 10-year-old kid huddled under his desk, you know, trying to call mom and dad. Can't get 911, nor can he or she get a hold of mom and dad. That's the stuff that I think about. Or perhaps someone, and I know them very well, who laid on the pavement and in a field for an hour and 20 minutes before getting help, before someone found them after a motorcycle accident. Amen. A lady and her family drove up on us and says, don't go nowhere. Obviously, we were not going anywhere for obvious reasons. We have to go see if we can find cell phone signal so we can get you some help, but we will be back. We will be back and stay with you until the ambulance arrives. Those are little things that I think about. So can we get a county attorney or the circuit court judge to file on the citizens because of their poor service? And it's not just AT&T, by the way, but they are the particular culprit at this point. Regarding safety issues and the abilities to work and run businesses, both county and city offices. But we have to have a point of contact. The FCC is going to run you around in circles. They're going to run you around. They're going to have you talk just like AT&T, this person, and then they'll say, well, you need to talk to this person, and you need to talk to this person. We need to find out who we need to be talking to. Any good marketing person will tell you that you have to qualify your buyer. That's basically what we need to do. We need to find out whose buttons we need to push, because this is serious. It is not. My biggest fear, I think, is that it's being treated, perhaps through osmosis, more as an inconvenience rather than problematic. I sit in the crowd and I listen to people fuss about this. My response to them is, well, you just need to call them. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Because I was told by a former county council person that we are nothing more than a pimple on the butt of AT&T and they don't care about us. And when you get that big, that's probably true, because they don't know about the human aspect, or somebody who has a cell phone in their walker pocket. So on a walker falls in the bathroom. Not everybody has that technology, and we have to be aware of that. And I'm asking you guys to please focus on that. You know, who are we contacting? Can we get a list of who we're contacting, when they're contacted, what the response was when we talked to them? Becky Thorne, thank you. The way that you handled the animal shelter was excellent, but I knew every single meeting where you were in your process. Good for you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's what needs to be done with our phone services. And it's not just cell phone, it's also landlines. An hour and 20 minutes today. I was on the phone. Hour and 20 minutes. What if my grandchild had fallen and broken a leg? And I do apologize. I did not realize that I was on the agenda. So I'm a little scattered today. Please bear with me. But I did want to specifically thank you, Becky, because that's what needs to be done with our phone service. All of it, not just part of it. Thank God for PSC. They have been amazing. And because they're local, they care. They care about your kids, and your kids, because they have to face us every day. AT&T does not have to face you, nor do they care. It's up to us to make them care. Start a local group that's going to do nothing but work on AT&T. A community outreach where we have the names, phone numbers of everybody that you guys are talking to, so we can reach out to those people. Powers in the numbers, I'm telling them, because the FCC is not going to be aware of you. And I don't care if it's a congressman or whoever, it has to start locally. It has to be grassroots, because unless they think, here's something else I want you guys to think about, just real quick. When I called, they said, I will credit your next month's bill. Whatever, dude. First of all, I could barely understand you, which is also very frustrating. I think they should start issuing checks, because until it hits them in the pocket, nothing will happen. Nothing is going to happen. Trust me. Nothing will happen. That service for the next month they're going to credit you on, they are going to, still be paid. I ended up with a $63 credit from AT&T that's going to be put on my next month's bill. Well, that's just nifty. except that I would like to switch service, but I feel like they still owe me $63 in credit. There are some that cannot afford to switch plans or switch providers. It's been said, well, if you don't like it, switch. Let me tell you, there are a lot of people in this county that don't have the financial security to be able to do that. Shame on us. Shame on us. So I am really concerned about the services offered by some providers. I was really hoping, quite frankly, at some point that PSC would offer cell service. Of course, I realized they'd have to work with another vendor. That would be okay. I don't care so long as it works. So long as when I pick up my phone, I can get what I need. So for anybody who has someone in hospice or has somebody that is, I don't know, keeps their cell phone in their walker, you know, those little pocket things. That's where my father-in-law used to keep his cell phone in case he needed something. We need to be thinking about those people. So I'm asking that every commissioners meeting, we have an update. If the calls are actually being made and the contacts are being made, update us, just like Becky did with the animal shelter. There was never any question. I knew what Becky was doing, and I appreciate that, because up until that point, I didn't really know what was going on. Bits and pieces, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know how that goes. But I knew what was going on. And we owe it to the rest of the folks in the county. This is bad, and it's getting worse. It's not improving. It is getting worse. And for someone who used to work with the FCC and somebody who was in broadcast for 27 years, I can tell you the cell phone service here and the landline service, for the most part, has been a nightmare. It stopped us dead in the water many times. So with that being said, I would like to see an update every commissioners meeting.
Would you like to head up a group and you can take the
Absolutely
command?
not. The coroner's office keeps me busy, and as you might imagine, it has been insanely crazy lately.
Does anybody have time to do that, to regularly do that? What this is a private company, and it costs them hundreds of thousands of dollars to put up towers, and we are small. And
And it's an overlapping problem.
we
Randy.
can call.
No, it
we can
pings that
call-
and relays.
We can call multiple times and we'll get the different response from each one.
Exactly.
It's frustrating. Now,
I know it is.
if we can grow our community, get more people here,
Mm-hmm.
get more usage here, then that's probably an easier solution than to getting them to build another tower.
Are there clients discounted?
We have a large county. A lot of it's not populated very
Well,
well.
I get that.
To build huge towers to serve what, unfortunately, someone lives in a remote area, there's risk associated with it. We do the same thing with the ambulances. We cannot station an ambulance everywhere in the county. We don't have the funds to do it. We'd love to do that. We really would love to do that. But there's positives living alone, and there's negatives living out there alone too. And as commissioners, we are limited somewhat in what we can make a private company or even get them to do. And the three of us could call every day for
Right.
the
You
next
need to
30
write.
days.
You need to write. Trust me. Okay. Who have you reached out to?
What we've actually
Remember?
done is we get this document in and we're working on areas that are actually underserved. One of them, for example, is Cannleton.
Mm-hmm.
They have super
get that.
poor service,
Mhm.
and then they also have what is supposedly is high-speed internet within their community, which is keeping PSC out from putting their fiber in. Now, those documents come through on a regular basis, and we can look through all those addresses and address, and I don't know whether it's the FCC or it's one of them, as to areas that are underserved. And those are the areas that we can deal with. When we have outages similar to the electric department, that a branch falls on a line, that's going to happen. If AT&T updates software because hackers are involved, or everybody wants a new function or something to that, we really have limited control at all. We can't tell them to quit doing that and put us back in a cave. They're going to do whatever they want to, and we're small. So we can go ahead and attempt to do all these things, but I think if you can engage the general public and get maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of people to continue to call them, you'll get a better response than 3 commissioners writing letters every day of the week.
So who have you sent letters to, or who have you called?
We
The
have not,
FCC
we have not sent letters per se. We get notifications
Okay.
on this as it comes through.
I get
And
you.
then we can respond to the areas that are underserved. It's done through emails. That's where we communicate primarily in these issues.
So
And that's
no-
where the funding is
has anyone
coming from.
reached out to the state attorney general?
I have not.
Okay. How about the Public Utilities Commission?
I haven't, no.
Okay. So
I had no phone service.
I had.
couldn't reach out.
Well, there you go. There you go. So I'm just asking for updates. You know, that's not too much to ask for. We have too many people that are suffering with no service. And while I understand that you think you can't do that, I think you wield more power than you actually believe. Start grassroots and work your way up. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank
You have a good evening.
Frank Germano. I don't see Frank here. Next one is Pat Sage. I think Pat probably came at our last meeting.
Yes, she is.
Yes, I did.
Oh, he did.
We shut her down on you.
Yeah, well, that was
An unfortunate time.
a surprise for a first meeting. All right, problem that I present to you is Chestnut Grove Road. We have a running person who's trying to run a junkyard back there. Stuff needs to be cleaned up off that property altogether. I understand another neighbor had an issue where they were asked to remove stuff off the property within a week. This is a problem. You have somebody with stuff sitting there. Somebody else is gonna say, well, nobody's making them get rid of it. Why should I worry? And it's gonna keep growing. That house is a disaster. If you really looked at it, the way the roof is bent, it's got water leaking inside on the bay window. The house needs to be torn down. Tony shouldn't even been allowed to do anything with that house. But we came in 5 months ago, to build our house back there. And I really don't appreciate having that garbage there. He pushed everything back. Now there's more stuff coming on the property. And I understood you guys told him to get it all off. I just want to know what's going on, why it's still there. If he wants to have it, build a pole building and put everything in the pole building so I don't see it.
Let me get you up to speed on where we are. And I understand your frustrations. Initially, there was health issues there, and the sanitarium felt that she could go out there and enforce the situation to have him clean it up. And she took pictures at that time, and it is cleaner than what it was. Whether it's where it needs to be, not necessarily, but it is better. We went through the process with that. Tell City actually claims a 2-mile jurisdiction outside of the city limits for zoning purposes. Their zoning does not allow in a residential area the accumulation of those types of material. They stated they either will not or cannot enforce their zoning in that 2-mile radius. Now, we're in the process with our attorney, and that's why it was on here, to determine who actually can enforce zoning. If the county can get the 2-mile radius back from the city, then the county can enforce the county zoning for cleaning that up. But as of yet, the two attorneys haven't came to an acceptable conclusion as to who actually can gain responsibility or should take care of that.
Okay.
The second item was, as soon as Rita left me a message that the neighbor is doing similar things that the other neighbor did. I got a hold of Kim and asked her to visit the site. She went out there and they said they cleaned it out of a garage and that it would all be removed and gone. It was just refuge from a garage. So I'm assuming, has it left by now?
No.
It's still there, okay.
The thing we noticed when your town had cleanup week,
Mhm.
they had rented a U-Haul and a trailer, and that stuff was being picked up and dropped there. Yes, I saw that and I'm like, what's going on? Everybody said, what do you want? You want it all? Somebody's saying, take it all. You got the truck. I won't say who, and that's where it ended up, back there.
We recognize there's a problem and we need to get it resolved. We shouldn't subject not only you, there's also a proposed subdivision that they're
Mhm.
looking to build right in the same neighborhood, and having refuge piled on the property is not going to be a good thing. So
But the house looks like it's not safe to live in. If you really get the pictures and you look at the lines on the roof and look how the house looks like it's dropping, I don't think it should be standing.
And that is owned by
Mhm.
Mr. Holland.
And I could see it from the distance when I took a picture. I could see the bow in the roof, and when you're looking from the dead end to the other direction, the other part, little add-on part, it's dropping down. It looks like it's an unsafe structure.
So he actually owns both properties?
It's one property back there.
Oh, with two houses.
No,
No,
not
it's
two
just-
houses.
It's just a lean-to.
Oh,
It's
Kind of on the side.
the whole, look, I wouldn't feel safe opening the door, walking in there without that thing coming down on top of me.
I can look in to see what our condemnation, again, it's in that 2 mile radius.
I
That's
know,
what,
it's the gray area.
that's the problem. We have to get it, so if we can get it back as the county, then we'll enforce it. But as long as Tell City claims that 2 mile radius, it kind of takes away our ability.
Yeah, I've been noticing that in things I wanted to do too, this 2 mile gray area.
It's a problem. So we need to get that resolved.
Thank you very much.
We're working on it. I'm sorry it's taken as long as it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Wayne Cleaving, next one.
I don't think he's here. It was that board appointment, Randy, with the conservative district.
Okay, do we
Yeah.
need to advertise that? Or did
I
we?
think we do. Or did we advertise?
I don't think we
We
did.
haven't.
We probably need to advertise that.
If
Due to
someone's,
health reasons.
if someone's interested in it.
Yeah.
I think it has to be, don't he have to, letter of
Yeah.
interest?
Letter of interest, and do
Yeah,
you have,
he would do that.
we need to look up to see if there's any requirements where you might live.
There is.
There is,
Yes.
whatever that
It's
is.
He
in
does.
it's in the conservative district.
He
yeah.
lives
Okay.
in that district.
Yeah.
According to this.
So is he, Wayne's applying for the job?
Hmm.
Or is he trying to get
No,
somebody appointed?
Nick Cleaving would like to be considered for the position. He's the
Yeah.
one who needs. to
So we
send the
just
letter.
need, if he's got that already, I mean, we can use that as a basis to advertise it and then see if anyone else has any interest, and then we can
Well, see,
make
it's not from Nick, this is from Wayne, it just
Yeah.
says, should it come from,
It needs to
Nick
come
Cleaving?
from who, yes, that he
Yeah,
has. an
Wayne's on the
interest.
board.
Yeah.
I do know that. And Darrell Taylor's on the board. There's three of them. And
Mhm.
Gilbert, health reasons, he's got to step down.
Okay,
so we
so
actually
we just need to
letter from Nick.
publicize it's available.
Yeah.
Anyone that has an interest in serving on the, it's West Fork.
Middle Fork.
Middle
Middle
Fork,
Fork, okay.
mhm.
This is called Middle Fork what?
Middle Fork
Middle Fork
watershed.
Middle Fork
Conservancy.
Conservative District
Yeah.
watershed.
So,
Thank you.
and do you know the length of the appointment?
I do not know that.
Okay,
I'll look that up.
I didn't know we done these.
I
didn't
think
know
they're
that.
elected by the people out there
Oh,
at
okay.
their
Is it?
meeting. But since there's a vacancy, they looked in the bylaws, and if there's a vacancy, the commissioners have to appoint
points.
to fill
Okay,
until the next
Okay.
election. So-
okay.
or their
That's why it
election,
looked kind of odd to me, because I hadn't remembered it
I
either.
hadn't even heard of it.
So we'll get that advertised. Next item up is Baker Tilly. Jason?
Good evening. My name is Jason Simler, a partner with Baker Tilly, and with me is Caitlin Cheek, Senior Manager, Baker Tilly. And we're here on behalf of the county, but also the Port Authority. You should have received some legal documents from Chris for the bond ordinance additional appropriation. So we're here to answer any questions. You've also had, I think, received some schedules. I'm happy, I have some more current ones. We've updated the numbers slightly. Happy to kind of go through those with you as well. Talk about the project. This originally started in 2021 when the Port Authority issued a bond anticipation note to help fund a bridge. That bond anticipation note is soon going to be fully used. The bids came in, or the project came in over budget from what was originally done in 2021. So we're looking at doing another bond anticipation note to cover the additional costs.
Okay, so originally, how much was it?
Let me just go through the schedules, and I think this may be able to answer a lot of your questions. I also have Tim from the Port Authority. If you have any questions for them directly as well. The original bond anticipation note of what was approved was originally up to $1.5 million. But if you turn to page 2, there was a little over $1.2 million originally, or actually borrowed. That $1,257,000, that's the amount of principal on the bond anticipation note, plus the interest that has accrued between the last payment and when we hope to be able to pay these off. We do have some issuance costs to take out that bond anticipation note. And then you can see the funds there. USDA, the Port Authority and the county received a contract with USDA back in 2021 that they would agree to take out this bond anticipation note once the bonds were fully, or the ban was fully used. So again, there's not much money left in that bond anticipation note, so that's why we're here doing for this, just to do an additional appropriation for when the bonds are closed with the USDA, that you and the Port Authority have the right to use those bond proceeds to pay off the ban.
And what was the initial, back to the 21, this bond issue, what was it used for?
The bridge.
So it's, the bridge is actually an ongoing project that's being built as we.
Correct. It's under construction right now. And it goes through time as construction costs have increased from what was originally projected in 2021. So it's doing it.
If I can,
Step up here, Tom.
all right,
Introduce yourself.
all right.
To the
I'm
audience.
Holm. I'm the chairman of the board of the Perry County Port Authority. The biggest reason of the delay was because the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, who has responsibility for issuing the permits underneath the bridge, the Anderson River, had issues, technical issues, let's say, and their delays were over a year. And as you know, everything goes up 15, 20, 30%, especially right now with construction. So, this bridge was approved. We pretty well had a handle on it, and then everything went south because of this delay. So what we're having to do is a second bond issuance to basically fill in the gap. Once we do that, I think financially it's not going to be an issue to us. We should be able to pay that off through our own internal funds. We're not asking the county for any funding, any tax funding or anything like that. It's just a question of, you've got to sign it. We can't do that because of the rules. It's a 40-year note. Obviously, we're going to try to pay that off a lot quicker, but it's a 40-year note at 3.75% fixed.
What was the interest?
Well, actually, the first one.
Yeah, the first one is
fixed at 2.25%.
Right.
And that was agreed upon in 2021. The second one's 3.75%.
And I'm unclear as to why we have to go back on the second one, because the first one had been approved.
Mm-hmm.
Why we have to go back and reapprove, I guess, the first one, because it was approved.
So are you refunding that one?
Yes.
That's kind of what I thought when I read through the documents.
Yeah.
And then you're going to put it all, so are you going to lose that 2% interest rate?
No, well, the first bond anticipation note that was approved and issued in 2021, we're going to pay that off with the USDA loan, 4-year loan. And that's what the 2.25%.
Okay.
Now we're coming back for a second bond anticipation note to finish the gap And then once the bridge is completed next summer, we're going to do a second bond issue with USDA, which have already agreed to an interest rate of 3.75%. So, and the reason we're coming back to you right now for the first one is when we approved the first bond anticipation note, we didn't do, you didn't approve additional appropriation.
So how much additionally is the bridge cost?
If you turn to page 4, we're looking at borrowing to finish the bridge $1,428,000.
So
So-
1.5 million higher.
Yeah. So, and we're funding also all the interest during construction. So that $122,000 is the interest through next year when we pay out the band plus issuance cost. So you're looking at a total about $1,645,000 for this bond anticipation note.
So that capitalized interest will be through January 15th, 2025, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And we really think we're going to pay off the band before then, but we want to give some flexibility in case there is some more delays. The band goes out till 25, or really hoping to pay off in July 24.
That's right.
So is the bridge about $6 million? Am I reading that right in one of those documents?
Around 7.
About right, yeah. About 8.1. It's the biggest bridge on a rail,
Right.
and it's the last one.
So what basically is the monthly anticipated cost to the Port Authority? The reason I'm asking this is because we're guaranteeing it with county tax dollars.
Sure.
So how's it going to impact us in the event
3,400.
3,400 a month? So we'd be looking around.
Yeah, so if you look on page 8,
A lot of pages here.
Yeah.
try to answer any potential questions that you might have.
There you go.
But page 8, this looks at the estimated revenues of the Port Authority. So this is operating revenues that they received in 2022, lower $3.1 million. We looked at what other outstanding obligations they have, other loans that they have with banks, and you can see that there. It's around $300,000 to $400,000 a year. This loan that we're getting ready to pay off here in a couple of months that we issued in 2021, you can see the annual payments about $40,000 a year. The second loan, second band, once it gets paid off next year and we do a long-term bond on that, it's about $70,000 a year. So the total obligations is about, $300,000 to $500,000. Then it drops down as your outstanding obligations run out. We also looked at the Port Authority's budget, just their normal operating expenses, and that's about $2.3 million. So if they spend 100% of their budget, you can see on the far right, there's still, anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000 of revenue available each
To
year.
debt service. So this is 10% roughly of what their estimated net revenues would be. That's comforting.
And there's also, that help comfort you even a little bit more, but according to the documents, the Port Authority also have to, well, 2 things. Each month, they're going to have to set aside net revenues into kind of like a sinking fund, if you're kind of thinking of a traditional bond. So that will be every month, they'll be required to put money into that account. So that way, when the payment's due, it'll be there to make the payment.
Yeah,
And then also there'll be a debt service reserve that they want them to fund.
Who's going to handle the funding and the paying of the bond? Is that a auditor?
Port Authority.
Port Authority is going to do it all. So they're going to also hold in reserve the 125% or 120%, depending on where you're at.
About 100%. Over 10 years, they're going to be required to fund what they call reserve, and that's equal to 1 year's payment.
1 year's pay.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of practice we've been doing for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
For our other outstanding loans.
That's been working. correct?
Right, because, cash flow, things come up and we want to make sure that we've got the money to pay them.
And you don't have to come ask for money.
We have them for 25 years, so.
And the USDA, I mean, you heard the interest rates. There's no way we could get that going to a local bank or anywhere and they spread it out over
And you're
40
going to
years.
pay it off over 40 years too, because I don't think it'll get any cheaper.
Yeah.
So why not?
That's right.
So what action do you want us to take?
We're just introducing the additional appropriation tonight for both the bond to take out the 2021 ban. We're introducing the bond ordinance and the additional appropriation for that. And then at the August 7th meeting, ask you for to approve those.
Any questions? Any more?
That will increase the load over that bridge where you can load capacity.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
you
everything's designed that eventually we can pick up the weight limit on the
Yeah,
cars.
and
start
that'll help.
cutting back on
For
The bottom
heavier
line,
loads.
yeah.
Right.
But once you get your rail in, you'll be good all the way to,
We should be
Lincoln City?
pretty much all the way to Lincoln City. That's right.
any other questions? We're okay with it? Come back? Thank you for the information.
Thank you.
That's what we need to know.
And if you do have any other questions, feel free to, Chris knows how to get a hold of me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotta flip it over and find it.
Don't know.
Now we're gonna jump one forward. We have a guy that's got a long drive ahead of him. Where are we at here, Chris? 6?
Yeah, we're gonna do
Okay.
9 right now.
Number 9, the AIC SIR Scholarship Award Presentation.
Let's come up here.
Hey, thanks for allowing us to be here tonight. Again, I'm David Bodorf, Executive Director of the Association of Indiana Counties. And it's an honor to be here this evening to recognize an outstanding young student from Urals County. We work with SRI. We give out 4 scholarships throughout the state, $400 or $500 scholarships. And one of the winners is from Urals County this evening. And I'm going to have Zach Hughes from SRI come up and talk a little bit about the services their company provides and how we reach this partnership and hand out these scholarships. So if it's okay, I'll have Zach. Come up.
Hi, everybody. Like you said, I'm Zach Hughes from SRI. We help Chris and Amanda with the tax sale and the sheriff with the sheriff's sale. We work with most counties in the state, and we've been at it for around 30 years. And I don't even know how long we've been doing this. My grandfather wanted to help give back to the counties. He got with David and AIC and figured out that we could do this scholarship. So it's wonderful that we can help students as they go off to school, and you know we're happy to help in any way we can. So congratulations.
Yeah.
David?
You want to come up here?
Yeah. And
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy now.
when Zach's grandfather Jim approached me about what they could do to further help the community, we thought about the scholarship. And Jim told me they used to send out Christmas or holiday cards to every commissioner, auditor, treasurer throughout the state. And of course, that was a pretty expensive proposition. And after having the conversation about what they could do to, leave a sort of a meaningful legacy, they decided to start doing these scholarships. And so I'm like Zach, I'm gonna have to go back and look to see how long we've been doing that. But it's a great program, and it's just so fantastic to honor students. And the students' parents have to work for county government. Is how they qualify. And we get essays from again throughout the state, and we have a committee that selects the winners. And our winner from here is Kelby Glenn. His mother's a probation officer. He attended Tell City High School, and he plans to attend Indiana University. And his long-term goal is to become an attorney. And I just have to mention, of all the essays I've read throughout the years, this one was really good. And I asked Kelby if I could read a couple sentences out of this, and not embarrassing maybe, but I just wanted to read this. And this, I think, was what key to the committee. Quoting him now: "Success is very important to me, but success is not about the money you make. It's about the lives you change. I hope to accomplish countless things in my lifetime, but most importantly, I want to make my family proud so that they recognize that all the sacrifices were worth it. I hope to encourage the change I want to make in the world and leave a legacy that continues to influence and shape the world around me." So very positive attitude, a great quote. And I'm going to present Kelby with this check. And I don't know if he wants to say, I didn't really tell him he was going to get to give a speech. If you have any comments you want to say, but
I'll keep it short, but thank you. I really appreciate it.
yeah. Well, thanks. And appreciate it. Yeah.
I think your family appreciates you too.
Thank you. We'll get some pictures. I don't know how much longer you all have.
The way we're going.
Do you mind if we do a few pictures with the commissioners? And
If you
Kelby
want to
and-
just come up here and
Okay, yeah,
stand behind
do
us.
that. And Zach, yeah.
Just stay sit, let them stand behind us. Yeah. One here and one here.
Have her take the-
We'll sit and have Kelby here.
I do want to mention that Mindy, last thing, of course, is the AIC president this year. And appreciate her, all the work she's doing on behalf of your all's county and helping the association. And all 92 counties, I'll serve her as our president this year. But I'm gonna use my camera too, if that's all right.
Okay. You want me to?
I think he's gonna get right in the middle. So that way he can prove he came all the way to Perry County.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Congratulations, Kelby.
Congratulations, yeah, good luck.
Now off to school.
I remember the day you were born.
Don't go any further.
I'm not going any further. That, people know I'm old anyway.
She needs to go. So she-
Okay. Yep, that'd be fine.
Seems like yesterday, right?
Yes, it does.
Now we're gonna shift around and let Tara come up. She's on the same mission to leave too. Nobody enjoys these meetings like we do.
Okay, Dave. First.
I think he'll be left.
Okay, so I'm Tara Lucas. I'm the nurse at the health department. I know we all know each other. I'm here tonight to ask basically your blessing or permission to see if you would be willing to opt in to the Governor's Public Health Commission. I know that we have all spoken in different contexts and ways about this Public Health Commission, which is now titled Health First Indiana. So that is why I'm here. I would like to know where we stand on that and if you guys are going to be opting in or not.
It was on my list for discussions. You know how things are we're not real sure of how this is all gonna roll out because they haven't really been specific as far as I'm aware of. The only thing that concerns me a little bit, I know we talked about this before, that we'll lose about 500,000 on funds that we 550,000 on funds that we normally get, and then we also would lose about 50,000 on the vaccine grant the last end of 2024. So
Can I jump in real
Sure.
quick?
Sure,
Okay,
correct me if I've got something.
So what you were saying, okay, so for those that don't know, and I know that we've got a council member and we've got a health board member here. The Public Health Commission is funding, it's not a grant, it's an additional appropriation to expand public health. Currently, we get a yearly amount that is our health our trust and maintenance, sorry. This would be, if we opt in, the counties that opt in, this is to replace that and truly expand public health. So what you are referencing, I believe, is that we would have to consider the funding that we are currently using for trust and maintenance, which is around, we'll say 50. And if our federal funding for our VFC immunization grant were to go away, which we don't know yet, but if it were to go away, we would have to also include those funds in that,
Which is roughly 50,000,
give or take.
90,000,
For
whatever. right?
6 months, yes,
Yeah, for a
98 for
6
the
month
year. It was
yeah.
just over 98,000 for the fiscal year.
12-month period,
Mhm.
yeah. And so then what it does is we've got like 189 minimum we would get.
Correct.
So we're gonna be maybe looking between $90,000 and $100,000. Now, the question becomes, to carry out the programs there's certain required programs in the governor's health initiative. A lot of them we already do, I think, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's going to be some new things that have to somewhat have some structure put together and evolve. And the main thing is that there's sufficient money to meet all these requirements. And it'll be in the $90,000 to $100,000 that we'd have funds to kind of work within to get those achieved.
That's
So-
for year one.
Right.
Mind you that things are
Yep.
anticipated to change
Right.
as other counties opt in or decline. Our funding very well could go up. The minimum, as you said, is the minimum for year one.
Right.
Yes.
And we got to get through year one first, whatever that entails.
So you're
That's the
already
question.
doing some things that are required.
So
Yes.
with the Public Health Commission, there were a specific and I know that I have emailed all of you guys all of this, so I'll keep it brief. There's a specific list of what they call key performance indicators, things that we have to do with this funding that they have truly found that public health is lacking across the state, across the country. So with this funding, we would be expanding our current services, adding new services to meet those requirements so that we are expanding public health for all. We are doing a lot of those and we are doing them well, but can we expand? Sure. Are some going to be new to us? Absolutely. But that is why we are here asking, where you stand with it, because it is July 18th and we have until September 1st to opt in, but we also have to have a budget prepared on September 1st at the latest. So
It's the same way, and then we've had this discussion. There's going to be some hopefully participation with like the hospital, with the health board and the health department and the schools, because a lot of it kind of intermingles. And so if we can get all of them kind of in a group working and hopefully the task each one would carry out would be something they're comfortable with and try. This is kind of a work in progress.
it is,
I
but
don't
we
know.
have already reached out to several community partners, and I am very confident in saying that our team has a plan going forward. We just need your blessing, and we need you to either opt in or say, hey, we're not in, so that we can refocus, because this is an incredible undertaking that we will absolutely take on. We have, but I need to know kind of where you stand with it, because I feel like we're kind of making plans going forward, but we've not yet said, are we as Perry County going forward?
So if we say, okay, we're gonna go.
Mhm.
So how would you envision this task to be carried out and planned, and what kind of thoughts are you?
Are you asking me what we would do with the funding?
My first question is, okay, now that the county's going to opt in,
Mhm.
okay?
I think
Would
that
you call in your community partners and
we've
start?
already
with them?
been in contact with community
then-
partners. So the next step, I think, would be to get our budget prepared and try to come up with, okay, you guys really are opting in for Perry County because it is a commissioner-only decision. And then we could truly focus on our budget and put a number beside all the work that we have done thus far.
And I don't know whether you're aware of this, but the county's challenged this year financially. So I can't necessarily speak, or any of us, for the council and where the funds might be compared last year to maybe what 24 will be, because I don't exactly know how that'll all work out. So I don't want to say that, yeah, they'll fully fund you the same amount they did last year, because they may be looking for nickels everywhere.
Can I ask for clarity?
Yeah.
Are
sure.
you saying that you're unsure if the council will fund the health department?
No, I'm sure they'll fund them.
Okay,
I don't know whether you're aware of it, but our insurance provider,
you told me, yes.
yeah,
told
asked
me.
for an additional $1 million. In the meantime, we now have a pauper attorney need of about $250,000. And we're going to discuss this tonight about
Sure.
this other health program where we just got a $38,000 bill that's $32,000 higher than what we budgeted. So
And I totally understand. This
It's a
though
little
is to increase and expand public health.
I know.
I am not
Yeah.
being rude at all,
Yeah.
but this is two totally different things.
Yeah.
This funding has a specific use. It is clear cut. You may be able, what our county does may be different than what Marion County is going to do. However, I feel like the five of us at the health department with our health board, we know this county well. We know where we can expand services, and that is what this funding is for. So it will not put any more hardship on the council. It will not put any more hardship on the county, in my opinion. It is just a simple, yes, we're interested in expanding public health, or no, we're not. So that my staff can realign.
Can I just clarify that what the commissioners are already appropriating for the health department will suffice with the.
Yes, and
Yeah.
we've talked about
Yeah,
that.
it'll be sufficient match. The only thing is, I don't know where we're going to come up with $1.5 million if we have to meet that, because we're not going to get any kind of a tax
You are
increase.
already matching, you've already met
Yeah.
the match by paying our salaries.
Yeah,
So I don't, I guess that's where my confusion is. I don't understand how our public health commission is affecting,
I'm fearful that the council is going to have to look everywhere for some type of funding mechanism unless we can do something. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't have that answer. We
Okay,
haven't started
that's-
budget process yet.
What I'm hearing is that you may not be able to fund the health department to the level that you can fund it in the past. because
Potentially.
You don't have the funds
Yeah.
with all these other things.
Because the money just, if we have to meet all these, and some of these things like this one here is just mandated, pauper attorneys, they just happen to us and we just absolutely
can I ask
just have to
something?
pay it.
Do you, I don't want to call out someone, but the county council funds for positions only.
Right. I know.
There's not a
The rest of
supply
them are
one.
grant.
So are you saying that there's potential that
I'm just throwing up the flag just to make sure, because what I don't want to do is have the expectations and then we have to try to back out of some of these things. I understand the whole concept. I, for one, am supportive. I want to opt in.
then let's opt in?
I just want to be cautious as to what we do. I would like to have some entities within the government kind of on a committee with you so that we can stay informed with the hospital and that, however you go through this decision-making process. So that would be the only thing I'd like to make sure we're aware of that. And then I'm good with it. I just caution.
I understand, but this is additional funding for public
I know,
health.
I know.
So I don't,
As long as there's nothing in the details that's really going to be hard for us to deliver on. And
you're
I
already
haven't-
meeting the match.
And I
You're
haven't,
well
now the
above
match, but whatever kind of programs we'd have to do. So
You said other counties could opt in, or opt out. Is there, once we sign, is there so long we have to stay in, or?
No, we can, so from my understanding, because we asked this question specifically, if we opt in and year one, we're like, this is not for us, that we can reverse it.
Okay.
Um,
Then I think I had this question I asked you to the state. It looks like it's long-term.
Absolutely, that is the plan. Yes, of course, anything can happen, but this is not a grant. This is an additional funding
Funding,
that
yes.
is truly meant.
Yeah, that's where we,
Yes.
sometimes you get in trouble when you get a grant
Absolutely.
and the
Yeah.
grant runs out. We still want the
And
program
that's,
and,
right, and that's not the
yeah,
case.
yeah, that's kind of what we
I think
thought.
the goal is to take a hard look at what we can expand here and do so, because public health truly trickles down. It trickles down to every part of this county. It will bring people in if we have good programs. It affects everything.
How many counties have opted in?
So as of Friday, there were a little over, I think, 37. They said maybe 40 by the end of the day. But they fully expect more. They expect, more to opt in than out.
Yeah, they have till September.
I think I got an
Yes.
email that said 38.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think a lot of them are similar to us, a little cautious. We don't exactly know how
It's new.
financials will
That's
be.
why.
And I
But I know-
understand.
Be cautious.
I know Indiana needs to improve
Mhm.
their health. I mean, that's part of the initiative.
And I think the governor's that's part of his program here, so I'm
And I'm not-
for it.
And I'm not to say they won't tweak it somewhere along the way here if something becomes a real problem. I can see that happening. So,
So,
Because, in the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen how important our health department really is in the
Thank you.
county.
thank you.
hopefully you don't want to repeat that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? Are you willing to,
I mean, are you comfortable? What we have to do is there's a specific document. We'll have to, approve it and sign it and send it back in. It's really fairly simple from what I've seen of it.
Absolutely.
So just a matter of if you're comfortable with it, we'll put it on the August meeting agenda. And we can approve it, sign it, send it in. I mean,
Do you want to approve it now?
that,
We've had the
Uh,
information for several months now.
at least,
Yeah.
I've sent so many emails.
Do you think we ought to approve it now? And then we can get the paperwork?
I mean, we can. I mean, we got it listed. I just don't want to do things that we hadn't made the public aware we're going to do, but we have it listed down here. So
Mhm.
I'm okay with that if you're good to go, and then we'll just fill it out and get it signed.
So, yes, we will be opting in. Is that what I'm understanding?
So we need to make
Not yet.
a motion.
We're gonna have a
almost there.
motion, so
Let's
You
do
need to
it.
make a
I'll make
motion.
that motion
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
3-0.
Thank you very much.
You're on board now.
Thank you. Now the work starts.
That's exactly right.
The room's clearing out.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
No one likes us. Okay, the minutes, Chris, we have from 6:20 and 7:03. That was a short one. If everybody's had an opportunity to read those, if there's any additions, corrections, I'll take them both together.
I make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Now, Chris, you're up to your
All
payroll.
right. So we've got the approval of the 7/17 payroll in the amount of $186,429.17. Health insurance claims, $17,932.59. Life insurance claims, $39,565.26. And then our claim docket amount has been deducted to $226,312.60.
226, 312.
Yep, .60.
And Becky, what actually has happened with that, this bill from, we don't have enough money budgeted for the Southwest Indiana Regional Youth Village. They have us a bill for $38,000.
Yeah, I've seen that and I don't
And,
know anything about them. This is the first I've ever heard of them.
right.
That's where they place juveniles, right?
Is it from the sheriff's department or is it from the courts or
From
where
the
is it?
courts, I believe.
Looks like-
We did this in the past.
We
We've
did it
had
actually
to
from the
find funding.
probation.
Probation.
See, this right here is what I don't understand. Back in 4/4 of this year, it was $934. 7/19, the amount is $38,919. That's quite a jump.
Well, I think it's per day, right? And you just never know how
We
much
just
we're
get the
gonna
bill
use.
from the
I don't know
probation,
anything
yeah.
about it.
Yeah, since it's juvenile, we can't discuss very much, you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
But yeah, we've dealt with this over the last, since I've been commissioner. We put so much funding in, it's like rolling the dice. We don't know how much we're gonna use. It's really hard to budget. Depends how many gets in trouble.
The problem like that one there, if it's $40,000 and you do that for 12 months, you're up to almost $500,000.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah,
is-
if it stays at that.
if
Yeah,
it stays.
Yeah,
at
and that's the trouble, that you can't, that's one thing you cannot even begin the budget. We did several years ago switch to another place in Indiana that try to get that cost down. We
I guess due to privacy, I mean, like literally, I have no information other
Yeah.
than the amount.
yeah,
I
and
really
we,
cannot,
I've never had any information. It's just
I can't
something we have
give you
to pay.
anything.
And that's a hard,
I just
Thing
don't like the
budget.
idea of having
Yes.
paying that amount of money without knowing.
I know.
And I don't hear no names. I don't want to hear no family names. I don't want to hear any of that. But go from $900 and something to $38,000. I don't.
well, we've spent in excess of 100,000 this year.
I know.
So.
I like to know a little more about their services. And I guess that's what I'm basically asking, what their services are, what the cost of their services are.
Teresa sort of took care of that for us with, she had a lot of information, but she's not here. I just don't have that much information on it. I think
Well,
we might have
nonetheless-
depended too much on Teresa.
We have to table it because it has to get an appropriation
Yeah.
from the council
Yeah.
before we can pay.
And maybe we can find, one of us maybe could find a little more detail, just.
We'll see what we can find out. And then we'll
And I
have to
don't care
revisit
to
it.
dive into it either, you know, but
Okay, so if I can get a motion to approve as amended, the 4 items of payment.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved 3-0. Insurance bids, Chris.
yay. Okay, so we do have insurance bids here that we received. I know that
Is this one? Where we at?
going over all of these here is just going to be a lot. This is actually from our current holder. That's the only bid that we received.
I got the insurance bid.
I know that Brad's here and he had put some information together for us to kind of explain a lot of this. So I think he gave that all to you guys now. So I think that that's just something we'll have to probably,
He's got it. Bring it up here, Brad.
okay.
He told me, and correct me if I'm incorrect, that he was going to put it on a spreadsheet to try to take away some of the confusion. So he put in that.
Brad Bronson, Shepherd Insurance.
Thank you.
I'm David Paul with Astra Insurance, your current carrier.
Thank you.
So yes, you're correct. Everything in that folder I just handed you is what is in those sealed bids laid out. So that way you don't have to go through line item. Every line item is in there on the spreadsheet. And on the very last page is the total price for everything. Broken down. What's in those separated bid forms. Now there is some good news.
We don't have to pay you.
There hasn't been much tonight, but
No kidding.
it's about 11% decrease from last year on the Astra portion, which is the big portion. It was 100. It's currently 184,000, and it's going down to 165.
And I'll say that that's partially due to our relationship with Brad and his agency, but then also he came to us and said, hey, I'd like you to look at it and see if there's anything you can do to be more competitive. We think that, this is kind of him telling us, we think that they've been pretty profitable from a, overall standpoint. And so we went to work and looked at it and we're able to shave a few dollars out of it. But I'll say that we wouldn't have done that if we didn't feel like you guys were a good risk and that you guys are doing things
So
the
can I
right
ask you
way.
something? If we wouldn't have put these bids up if I wouldn't have posted or we wouldn't have put these up for bids, would the change have happened?
I think so, because Brad reviews it every year with us. And so, he came to us and said, hey, I'd really like you to take a, strong look at it. And that's what we did.
And you said you review these each year and make sure we're getting there. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so.
And even furthermore, Randy, you and I had a discussion last year. We talked about the prior year claims, and hopefully they're going to improve this year, which they have.
Good.
Which is an example.
The industry just, and to give you maybe a little bit more perspective on the entire industry, is up between 15 and 20% rate wise. So for you guys to have a reduction in rate when rates are going up is a little bit unheard of. But once again, I think it's partially due to the relationship that Franzman has with Astra, but then also we've been with you guys for, I think, over 10 years now.
Yeah.
So
With
we
Astra.
kind of looked at it.
They owns them.
We kind of looked at it from a long-term relationship perspective, and you guys do things the right way. So we wanted to reward that.
Well, things have really improved over the last 5 years. Workers' comp, you may not be aware. You're paying $130,000 5 years ago, roughly. It went down 15,000 one year, 10,000, and this year was pretty much flat from last year. So it's significantly came down. That's because of risk management. That's not them. That's IPEP. They'll come in. They will do certain trainings. They will do certain things. All that helps to reduce claims, and it has helped. And we'll continue that. And risk management with Astra as well on the PNC, the auto.
If you don't have claims, that helps too on working comp.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Is
So
that for
you
the last
gotta
5
keep-
years,
yeah.
we've really worked on that to bring those down.
Yeah.
Getting healthier, getting safer, doing things.
Yeah, and I just say overall, like we have several counties insured, just overall, your group is trending in the right direction. We have counties where the law enforcement claims are just going through the roof and the jail claims are going through the roof, and they're not looking at this kind of these kind of numbers. They're looking at the opposite of this 30-40% increase. So keep up the good work. I mean, and it's clear you guys are really, and gals are really paying attention to things. This is not,
Here's my next
it should
question,
be very well run.
and I already told Brad this. I accidentally printed all of this information out that you had provided on the questionnaire. And we have a lot, is there a way to get a breakdown on cost or what? We have a lot of vehicles, trailers, a lot of things, and some of them are relatively old. And we are paying $500 on, I think, comp and maybe $1,000 deductible on collision. And some of those based upon, the actual cash value. And some of those pieces of equipment probably don't have a substantial value because
very
they are
possible.
so old. Now, is there a way to get a printout as to what we're paying for each one of these
I thought I
vehicles?
gave that to you. Did I not? About 4 or 5 months ago?
Your girl down there printed me some things out.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and look. If you
But I can
did,
go back. We'll do it again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, regardless, that yes, it can be.
because I know we've got some older cars that I think we might have already took to the auction block and they're still showing up.
okay.
Which this will help too with our new inventory system
Yeah,
that
that's
we've got. We're getting that updated as far as our capital assets and all that
Right.
this year. So a lot of that. So we should be able to pull. We're digitizing all of that and making it basically we have a program that we were already paying for, just not utilizing.
Okay.
So that will be a lot easier, I think, for us to
Then
match
we
up.
can look back and forth to make sure we still own it. Then we need to determine, if it's a 40-year-old vehicle and it still works.
Right.
There's not a problem with using it. It's just whether we need to switch that over to liability. And in the
Sure.
event we lose it for some reason, we just take it to the scrapyard
Right.
or whatever we do to it.
It's one of our-
Because a lot of times you're not going to pay us anything as far as actual cash value, on an old piece of equipment that's
Right.
been depreciated out. So
Except take away a vehicle. If it's in your inland marine equipment, that's guaranteed. That's replacement cost.
right.
Well, it's not anywhere else. It's actual cash value, just like cars. But that's one thing I want to point out. Tractors.
With Astra, we pay replacement cost, but you do need
On
to.
what?
On your equipment.
On the equipment and the vehicles too?
Not on the vehicles.
Equipment.
Not on the
Vehicles, emergency vehicles.
Okay.
So your police and your ambulance, you're not your police, but your fire trucks and ambulances.
EMA
So
stuff.
emergency vehicles would be 15 years or newer would qualify for replacement cost. But the equipment, every single item on the equipment list would qualify for replacement cost. So I would always encourage you to review those values. Make sure you're not insuring it for like a used value, because the insurance policy will never pay more than the limit of insurance.
So in other words, if we had a truck with a salt bid on it, even though it was 30 years old, and we turned it over and destroyed the salt bed, if we had it insured for the new replacement cost, you'd replace it.
As an attachment to that vehicle.
Yeah, if you had that
Yes,
salt
yes,
bed separately listed in your inland marine schedule,
Right.
correct.
Then
Yes.
you'd replace that at that value. Okay.
Might be like tractors at the highway.
That's correct.
Correct.
And
Oh, yeah, we've
equipment-
replaced a couple of them.
It's a big deal. We just don't want
Over
to
the
argue
years.
with you over these little claims,
Yeah.
because typically these things turn into arguments, because you guys may have maintained this tractor to impeccable, shape, but yet we can get online and search up a 1994 John Deere and it says we can get one for $5,000. So we offer you $5,000. You're like, you're crazy.
Yeah. It's
So,
worth more than that to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's
there's,
something we need to
Now,
consider.
do you guys use
So out there-
Lexipol for the police department, like policies and procedures? Okay. So if you guys decide to go down that path, because you're insured with Astra Insurance, there is a 10% discount on Lexipol services. So it's basically state-of-the-art policies and procedures with the law enforcement. So
Okay.
updating their manuals, updating the policies and procedures, things like that. So just keep that in mind. Food for thought.
I just have one other thing to say, if you don't mind. So obviously we went out for bids too, our agency, and we didn't receive any other bids as well. And I think if you read the spreadsheet and look at the coverages, that will explain why. No one else is willing to offer $25 million in flood insurance and property insurance. $5 million is pretty much the cap, maybe $10 million. So they're reviewing all this in the coverages, and for the price, there's no one going to touch it. That's our experience with going out to 3 or 4 other carriers.
Good, so what we need to do with this is go through, we don't have to worry about the competitive end of it because no one else bid. But we need to go through your documents here, see what we might have questions with, review some of these different vehicles and that, and see if we want to tweak this a little bit, and then we'll work it out.
Well, there's going to be some other things to tweak too. We need to look at revenues, we need expenditures, and some things moving forward.
Right.
So, but that's all stuff we do every year.
Thank you.
All right.
I thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time,
Thanks,
Brad.
Brad.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Here's a couple others.
Okay, yeah,
Council.
thank you.
Right, thank you.
Okay, where are we at?
I don't know. I
So
got
now
lost
we need
on
to go
that.
to
Number
Sheriff's
5.
Department.
Trade in. Eric, are you going to speak with us?
Evening, Eric Dickinson, Fairfax Sheriff's Office. I'm sitting in for Sheriff Malone. He had a previous engagement that he had to take care of. He's requesting permission to trade in a cruiser. This is a 2018 pickup truck, and has close to 100,000 miles on it now. And they're offering $20,700 for the trade-in. We only paid $25 for 36. So at 18,000 miles on it when we purchased it, it has almost 100,000 on it now. So in essence, we paid $4,736 for 78,000 miles. I think that's a pretty good deal. But he's requesting, I think he might have sent an email previously over this, but that's what he was requesting.
And you're getting the funds out of the commissary.
Yes, that's my understanding. It's a commissary purchase.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ray.
No, go ahead.
Okay, the difference you're gonna pay out of the commissary, correct?
Yes.
When this 2018 Dodge Ram was purchased, where did the funds come for that?
I believe this was a commissary purchase as well.
Was it a commissary
I
purchase?
believe so. Correct me.
Was that the vehicle from Spencer County?
Yes, sir.
That's right. I knew you got a used one from them. So.
Okay, I know that y'all are trying to get another deputy, correct?
We've asked for one with our budget submission, and I look forward to in the coming weeks after I get the federal financial report caught up to maybe sit down with I'd like to sit down with Brandy, and I think the sheriff would like to sit down with Kelly and put together a small panel just to kind of take a look at some things. That's something we had discussed at that particular council meeting. So things have been very, very busy. So hopefully we're going to get.
The reason that I ask about that is this Dodge Ram, could it not be used for that deputy? That new deputy that you're trying to get into the work?
Hypothetically, I think what we're finding is that with the Hemi engines, we start having some serious problems with them shortly after they break 100 and a little over 100,000 miles, 125,000.
I've had two.
Yeah, we've seen camshafts and 2 Hemis, some issues, and I think we're trying to get ahead of this because it is a very expensive repair. It's happened on a couple of the different Chargers, so I think we're just trying to get ahead of the potential of having issues.
23 Dodge Ram Crew Cab, has it got a Hemi? The one that you're going to purchase or wanting to purchase?
It is an SSV, so it doesn't say. I'm assuming so with it being an SSV.
You know, if they're going to run out, if you're going to start having trouble with them right over 100,000 or 120,000 miles, I don't see why you keep purchasing or why they want to keep requesting for the same vehicles if you keep having trouble with them.
It's a couple different things. The market right now for police cars is these are cheaper than the rest, and I think that if we came with a proposal from Ford or from Chevy, I think you're going to see the price tag reflect much more. When it comes to my personal opinion on police cars, too much more than about 125,000 miles. I don't like the idea of those cars being driven the way that we drive them after that much age. I know cars are built better today than they have been in the past, but these cars are idle at scenes for a long time. They're driven hard to some crime scenes or some traffic accidents, and so it's not even just the engines that I'm worried about. I'm worried more like suspension issues and things like that. And so, but we've looked at other makes. Finding them is an issue at the moment, and we share stories back and forth with our counterparts at Tell City. They've had struggled finding vehicles as well. So police cars are hard to get hold of right now.
My thought on this would be, it's like, you're no different than the highway. If you got a piece of equipment, maybe it's not wore out, and this is one of them. If you can get that kind of price out of it right now, today, take that thing 5 years out, see what you get. It'll be about $5,000. So maybe I think the wrong way, Randy and Becky, but I think if you overturn your equipment a little bit sooner, if you can afford to, finds a way, like they just found a way to fund it, it helps the county. Then you get a new vehicle, you get a warranty with it. You're not apt to have a $10,000 engine go out. We've seen plenty of those with the ambulances. So that's my 2 cents. I think even if we wait a year, we won't have a $20,000 value on this truck. So
My opinion is going to be this way, Eric. You came in and was passionate about a deputy in the May meeting at the council, and I sat through the thing.
Yes, sir.
You also said we need to put together a group and get a plan, kind of put some things together as where you're going. First I heard of this is when Alan brought it up here maybe a couple of weeks ago or something like this here. And I think it probably, because I get these in the mail too, flyers, bring your vehicle in, trade it in, we'll give you 20 grand, trade you for a new one or whatever. And they do that to get used cars and turn things over. I would like an actual plan as to what you are doing today, where you want to go tomorrow, 5 years from now, how many deputies, what you want to have them capable of doing, and put some numbers down as to what you're doing. I'm looking at this, and I just so happen to have this insurance in front of me, and I have and I don't know whether you still have it or not, there's a Chevy Impala here, 2006. It's listed as a sheriff vehicle. I've got a Dodge Charger, it's 2016 that's on here. A Dodge Ram 1500 that's 2012. If we're going to trade a vehicle off, let's trade one with more miles and older, and I get back to Becky's point too, that if we're going to put a new deputy in, we're going to have to outfit them. Where's that money going to come from? And if you heard me earlier, it's not pretty right now. And so you're using it out of the commissary fund, and I know that's generated from the prisoners and that, but if it wasn't for the jail, it wouldn't be generated. And I'm fearful the council's going to look at everything this year. Maybe they've got a big sack of money I'm unaware of somewhere, and they will all be surprised. But as of right now, I'm just cautious, because I would rather have your department funded so you could pay the payroll than somebody driving a newer pickup truck. Now, if things become pleasant in the future, then we'll look at it. But I would like to see a plan, as to where you actually, because I know I've got some of these vehicles are leased, and at one time the lease was the way to go. Now we come back and now we're purchasing again. And I don't know whether the leases have changed and whether they're favorable or not, or what they are, but at some point we need to have, and it's just like whether it's a pickup truck, a sedan, or whatever it is, we need to determine the life expectancy. And if the Dodge is not performing and it costs us a few dollars more to get another make or model, then we need to consider that. because it's not necessarily just the initial cost. It's the fact that we need to trade it in within 100,000 miles, or we may get another one that gets an extra 50 out of it. So we need to take a look at those things, engage that to see what we can do. We'll all benefit from it. It just takes a little work. That's my 2 cents. So I'd like to table this until we can kind of put together some type of a plan and let the council get through the budget to see.
I agree with you on the plan. That, that's probably a good thing to have. But also, I'm the type of person, I like to keep good equipment for our deputies. And I don't think any vehicle, I think what we're not taking into consideration is the idle time. Miles doesn't count. They sit there and idle a lot. The traffic accidents, they can sit there for 2 hours and idle with the lights on. Because you got to have them running, keep the lights on. Not, you're going to have a dead battery. So I don't matter if Ford, Chevy, or what, you're still going to, I'd like to see a rotation after 100,000 miles with any vehicle.
So see, put that in your plan. The life expectancy of a police department is 100,000 miles, so many years or whatever. And what kind of dollars that would take budgeted wise in order to meet that type of a plan. And then it allows the county to actually plan for these things, because this is one of the things that really we don't do a good job of. We know your vehicle's going to wear out. So have we set aside funds to replace it? In most cases, no. And we need to be doing that. We need to know the life expectancy, whether it's a computer, whether it's your car, whether it's the air conditioning system, they all wear out. And we have to start looking at it.
This new inventory, the new inventory systems. And
We just have to take that and do a better job so we don't find ourselves between a rock and a hard spot.
I agree. I think the reason why he was going to jump on trying to jump on this was because of the trade-in allowance that they were giving, and that's.
Is there a deadline on that? As far as
they've been trying to trade me out of my pickup for 3 years, and they keep sending me these same things, and I'm thinking, wow, you haven't looked at it. So, but it's an advertising.
Ours got hit Sunday morning in the Kroger parking lot, our new truck, and they took off.
Yeah.
I say go ahead and get this, then we'll start working on a plan long range. And that could work with the council and the commissioners and everybody together. Because
The fleet is, some of the fleet is on the lease, and I'd like to think that when this lease comes to an end, I think the way that I think that it's going to turn out is that they're going to give us so much value for the trucks that we have in lease, and that it was painted in a way that likely there would be enough money to be able to give the council options to include paying what they're paying annually now, but there would be enough left over to be able to add another vehicle to the lease, so that these vehicles that aren't on the lease that we have to replace from time to time eventually, as we trade them in, values on trucks are high during the trade-in process, then you can begin to add more.
That's where your plan, that would work good in a
The
plan.
question you get into, are you going to have 100,000 miles on them and they're junk? See, and so you don't want that vehicle anymore. So that's the whole thing. You're going to have to think through this process to see exactly. And it's, it's just a matter of taking a little time to sit down and go, here's where I'm at and here's where I'm thinking I'm going to be, and just to plan. So is that a motion, Randy?
that is a motion to go ahead and get it and work on the plan later.
Get a motion to accept what Alan wants to do. Do I have a second?
I would second it with the promise to see a plan within the next 30 days.
You got a
I'd
motion?
like to see more time than that. That 30 day comes around really quick.
60 days.
You got a motion
Do that?
and a second with the requirement for a plan? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to oppose it because I just don't feel it's the right thing to do at this time. So 2-1. Thank you, Eric. And we're skipping, now we're up to Steve Howell and Howard built boom.
I don't need it. We've been going on
Yeah,
everywhere.
it's going on.
Poor Steve been sitting over there. Look at him. He's asleep.
The room's clearing out though.
He's thinking about fishing, what he's thinking about.
What the heck do I got going on here?
Did you get some bids on that?
Got one, we got two, we got three.
All right.
These are bids for the
For the purpose-built boom mower.
Boom more. Okay.
I like saying that, boom.
Okay, and I'm sure we're gonna have to go through this a little bit more in detail, Steve, and you'll probably have to give us some insight. This is from Wright Implement, and it is a 155 horsepower tractor with a 28-foot Tiger boom. It's got several options.
Is it an M, Randy, at the end of the,
Yeah, 6155M.
okay,
Only-
M's a better tractor.
Yeah.
See, only a guy like you would know that.
It is.
So,
If it's an E, don't buy it.
Ours is an M.
Who's this
John
one
Deere.
from?
this is from Wright Equipment.
Is that with a
And-
W or an R?
Yeah.
W.
With the W, WRIGHT. And he's got the whole package with all the different assortments on it. And if I'm, is the tractor separate from the, nope, it's got the boom and the tractor together, and we're looking at $272,210.13.
272 what?
272, 210, and 13 cents.
Oop, I won't be buying
It's a
one.
pencil.
And we're gonna have to go through all the ins and out on this to see.
Does it break down the tractor versus the boom? Just curious.
Yes, yes. The boom, let me get back here. And see, there's some different options associated with it. The tractor's 147, 961, 98, and the boom is 124, 260, 248, 15. So the boom is basically $23,000 less than the tractor.
Can't see that.
This is from Hudson.
Hudson or Hudson?
Yeah, you're right, Becky.
It's Hudson.
And it is a Alamo Mantis 155B. And obviously we have to look at the brochure. But their bid price for that is $290,000. Delivers training to the highway department.
This is just for the boom?
Nope, this is the whole unit. It's,
Oh,
take a look at that one.
oh. We got to
It's
one of these.
kind of a strange looking character, but
It is. Have you ever dealt with the Manus?
No.
Do you really want to deal with the Manus?
No comment.
Strange looking thing, isn't it?
might be pretty cool,
Yeah,
you
it
know?
might be. You never
That's
know.
the one
that's
that's
got the
just built.
cab That goes up and down and turns around and all that.
Okay.
According to what I was told.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that brochure on it.
So it's made just for boom mowing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more of a purpose built. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's the one that it comes up and the cab and stuff will turn around where you can go over which direction, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Atmax Equipment Company. And it is a boom mower, third generation. It has a 26-foot boom on it and a whole list of other things.
What's the price on that?
You can see kind of, that's another different oddball. It's not a tractor, it's built specifically. It looks more like a loader than it does a tractor.
Mhm.
And
It's like a 914.
their bid is $229,697.50. And they got a list of different standard items and a few other extras here.
You ever dealt with any of these, Steve?
No, I have not. I I've talked to several other counties around us, and Du Bois and Davies and Martin and them are using those at max, and they are well satisfied with it. They said, and
Listen here.
They're made in Florida.
I've talked to the salesman from all of these, and of course, he told me the parts are readily available. They've got a mechanic, in this area for that if we have problems with it.
Where do they sell these here?
It's in
At
Ohio.
Max. Huh?
In Ohio.
In Ohio,
Yeah.
okay.
I like it's got a Cummins engine.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Versus the other one had it.
We really would like to get away from the tractor mounted mowers because the tractors, that's a lot of weight hanging on that tractor, and I'd rather get something that's purpose built for this, like those other two are there.
These are specialty built for it.
Yes, they're built for that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, because the tractors never was built to do what
No.
they're doing.
No,
Especially,
I think they're more dangerous with these boom mowers.
even though the better made tractor's still not strong enough.
Right.
Hold the weight.
The Atmax has got, also you can get it with a skid steer attachment on the front of it with a lift arm.
Yeah, right here.
And you can put pretty much anything that you can run on a skid steer on it if you want to get something else
It's
for it.
got the quad saws. You could use them for trees, couldn't you, on the round power lines? The ones
I
that,
think you'll use it for mowing grass. You got plenty of
We
grass.
got
to
lots
mow.
of grass to mow, yes,
Yeah.
we do. Lots of Johnson grass.
Yeah, that will keep it busy. So at this point, the Atmax is the lowest priced one, correct?
Yes.
And we need to look through the specifications. Steve, I'm gonna
Okay,
let you look at them.
okay.
And
after they put,
then, do we want to table this till he has a chance to look through them and then approve a purchase at the next time? Or do you want to do it pending?
I think I would like
Have
to-
Andrew look at it too.
Now,
yeah. Well, that's what
we did this in the past, back when Eddie was superintendent. We kind of took their recommendation, what they thought, because the other one's going to be using it every day.
Sure.
And I'd like to have Steve's recommendation on which one they think we should go with, because
I think the Atmax is the
Yeah,
best.
he wants to talk to
Well,
Andrew about
it's the
it.
lowest priced one too.
Yeah, it's those, yes.
So that makes it easier. Except the low bid.
You getting any attachments with it, Steve?
No, just a boom mower.
Why not? Make him throw
Well,
something in. I'll go with you.
We're
I'll
gonna
talk
stay
him
busy
into it.
mowing with it.
I'll talk him into it, don't worry.
So how do we want to do this? I mean, we need to go through and make sure that it's got everything as expected. and
Well, I think
go through the other ones. So
we can make a motion if when he wants to make sure that Andrew looks at the specs and everything is what it is and everything's there.
Yeah.
And it is the cheapest one, right?
yes, it's
So-
the low
It
bid.
looks heavy duty. I mean,
So
looks like a grad off in the front, actually, with the side on.
Yeah.
We was told one time, Randy and Becky, because when we looked at a cat versus another type of loader one time, if we can justify the extra cost, we still didn't have to go with the lowest bid. We don't have to worry about
Yeah,
that here,
right,
but
Mhm.
you just gotta put in there that
there's a
feel like
reason.
it's gonna.
That's why you have to look
Lot
through
of
these
it.
to make sure
Yeah.
that everything is included
Mhm.
as expected. So that they don't leave something out.
That'll leave us a little money out of our ARP to,
Yeah, you were gonna get salt beds.
we're still aiming to.
Okay.
But this is a big purchase.
Second.
Right. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to approve it pending review or do you want to approve it at the next meeting?
Does it matter to getting it on order?
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, I think it probably
If he
will.
gets,
Yeah, then we're going to approve it.
yeah, if you want to approve it pending legal
Approve it
review
on
and
order.
Steve's review,
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the low bid of the Atmax pending legal review and Steve's review as to having everything he needs on it.
Look at the radar back there.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0,
Hey,
Steve. So
Steve, what time frame did they say?
4 to 6 weeks when I talked to him.
Really?
That's been a couple months since I I need to talk to him about it, so I don't know.
Like a lot of things 2 or 3 years out yet.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
need to get copies.
Yeah.
I have two other things I need to talk to you guys about. Leopold's gonna have their picnic July the 30th, and they would like to close the street in front of the church. They close that every year for the annual picnic, so want to get your approval on closing that street for that day.
I make a motion to close that
Got a
street. for that
motion?
day.
What street is
second
that? What street is it, do you
Right
know?
there in front of the church. I don't
Yeah.
remember the name of it.
Leopold Church?
As long as I get some
Okay.
chicken
St.
and dumplings.
Augustine's.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to allow the church to close the street for the day of their church.
July the 30th.
July the 30th. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I also have one other question. You guys set up this account for building repairs. Has
Yes.
that been set up, or is that usable?
We've
or-
started to. We're trying to not do it for minor things. You don't have something big in there.
Well, our generator, we had to have that serviced, and we got a garage door. We had to cut the cables on the other couple weeks ago to get it to come down. The generator ain't so expensive. What they did there at the garage door, I don't know what, sometimes that gets expensive.
Do you have anything? What we initially set that up for was like bigger things like parking lot paving and
We got one.
new roofs. I'm sure there's enough need out there. Trust me.
Okay,
But if you have it, it's just like we did some work in the second courtroom.
Yeah.
And we had, some money set aside in our budget for the courthouse, so we used that to pay for it.
okay.
So if you've got it, we'd like for you to use it out of that.
Yeah, we've got it.
So,
Trying to say where our hands.
because we want to have that thing,
Won't know, right,
That's right.
Steve?
we want to have it grow so that when that big catastrophe does happen, we have the funds to hopefully pay for it.
That fund is being with some of the interest money. Is that where that's coming?
It's actually what it is part of the edit funds. It's in that group because what they did was put a nickel in when they took the jail off. They put a nickel in for just building maintenance. It's for a purpose to keep these county
All
facilities
the
up.
county buildings.
So it takes that every month, I think is when they pay. Okay. And it drops a little bit of money in. So it's slowly growing. I mean, it just
5%
started the
of it.
first of the year. So, but it will get
We
there.
didn't start it the first of the year.
You didn't?
No, because you guys didn't approve the edit plan until March
Oh,
31st.
That's right. So it hadn't been growing that long.
Yeah.
So maybe 3 months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's got a ways to go, but
So wasn't the interest money going to go in a building fund too?
we have, we're in the process of doing some things to make more interest.
Yeah.
We got into the bond bank. They pay substantially on overnight deposits and that. And we're doing that now. We haven't done anything with those proceeds, but it's being collected in an interest fund. But at some point, that'll probably help the council to save.
You need
some
to
of
say
the
it's in an
situation.
interest, it's in the general fund in an interest account because they're called funds than the sub accounts.
Now, did the county, is that some of their money, what they got on hand that they draw interest going into that or not? No, it's not. Okay.
I thought that was.
Well, it's your checking account. We get into this talk again. It's the checking account interest for the county checking account, okay? That's all of the funds that are in there, okay? Now, if the highway would take money out of their restricted fund and invest it in a CD or something like that, that interest is theirs. You cannot use that. But the way the state code states is that all interest is supposed to go into the general fund unless an ordinance is stating elsewhere where it's supposed to be specified to go in.
See, this is money to highway, the interest off of the highway funds was interest that we always got. I don't know, we talked.
There's
about
no
that.
separate bank accounts.
Mhm.
It's all there. It's all the county money is in a total of right now 8 bank accounts. We have 8 bank accounts. Okay, so it's not separate. There's no separation of the funds.
So how did it go
We always-
in the past if you got your interest?
I don't have my paper with, but we got Cume Bridge and Motor Vehicle Highway. There was 7 or 8 different ones that we got interest, that we drawed the interest off of. And the highway department had always got the interest from the highway money. And then they changed that where it's all going in one thing.
There was and I don't know how this formula got put together, but there was a formula that as the interest came in, it was separated between a multitude of accounts. And I don't know exactly how that percentage came about, but what it would end up doing is it would drop in as a balance. Then it would be not necessarily budgeted money, but then it would be in that account. And what it, for instance, if we took in $5,000 in a month and you had 10 accounts, everybody got $500. And there was no requirement to do that. So when Chris checked with him, the consensus kind of was, wouldn't we be better off with 5,000 in an account rather than having 500 scattered everywhere if we needed it to carry out a task? And that was kind of the thought process.
This is the whole logistics of it. There's no ordinance. The State Board of Accounts states that all checking account interest, county bank account interest should be deposited into general fund unless there's an ordinance stating else.
And this has been going on so long, we can't find an ordinance.
There is no ordinance. So like I've told Steve, if the council, well, actually the commissioner, no,
Governing body has a control.
governing body puts in an ordinance, then we do it. But here's the whole thing. We were putting interest in the ARP fund. That's a huge no-no. So this is my whole look on it of analyzing it. The ARP just came about in 2021. So that had to have been just established that the ARP fund was getting interest. So I can't find any documentation telling me that the governing body said these accounts get this amount of interest. So based on State Board of Accounts, it has to go into the general. And so that's
Until
why
you make an ordinance.
until you make an ordinance.
My point of view is the highway department, not,
I know what you're saying. No,
the highway department has always got this money as far as we know. So you're taking something away from the highway department. It's like almost 14,000 a year in interest, which ain't a big bunch of money, but it helps out. But it's something that you're taking from the highway department, and I'm gonna complain about that when it happens. That's my
You're
job.
not doing your job.
right.
I think we'll look into it because if they've been doing it for 30 years, I think we need to look at the
It's been longer than 30 years.
Well,
I've been there longer
50
than
But
that.
you can't say it's been being done for 30 years because the ARP just came about in 2021. So there has to be documentation telling me what accounts get these interest. And in my opinion too, we set a budget, or you guys set a budget, I shouldn't say, a budget is set. And so you might budget $400,000 for a department or whatever. But if we are giving interest to a selected accounts, that it gives them the opportunity to build up a cash balance to where additional appropriations are a little bit easier for them. And this is no disrespect or anything to any department, but I can honestly tell you in the 6 months that I've been here with the council, if you come in and say there's an additional appropriation out of the general fund, these antennas are going bang, 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 because that's general. But if you say they're coming out of our cash balance, it's like, oh, we've got to, I think you need to, and we need to grow. We need more funds, and the better way to do it is by investments. And if we take that interest and we invest it for the county, not necessarily for certain departments individually, then that's going to allow to where we're not just taking additional appropriations out of general, or we're not just taking them out of riverboat or this, where you've got that. I don't want it to turn into a slush fund or anything, but it's not suggesting it to be a slush fund, but it's a little bit more controlled. And that's one thing that I want to point out to the council when we come budget time, is I think they need to look at these funds. This is where you have to use the proper terms because they're funds, not, you get confused with funds and accounts, but you look at these funds, you can't just look at what they're requesting. Also, you need to look at the cash balances too, because some of these cash balances, need to be And like I said, I told Steve, I do what I'm told. So if an ordinance by the governing body is put in place that says, hey, the interest is divided between these set accounts, then by golly, that's what I'll do. But I don't have a piece of paper telling me, and I'm just not going to go by the fact that somebody says it's always been done this way, because honestly, there's had to have been changes because the ARP was just established in 2021, and it was one of the funds that was getting interest.
Good for you, Chris.
So
Agreed.
I'll do
I
what
was
you
always
choose.
told on the highway fund had to be used for the highway because it's coming in from the gas tax
Yeah.
and the state.
We
But does that mean the interest has to be too?
I
In
think
my
she-
mind, I would feel like it should be, but maybe not legally. It doesn't have to be.
If you read the Indiana code, and it states, and that's why I got all those emails, and I know we sent this out back in, and we can revisit it again if we need to. But it's if the highway would take money out of their restricted account and say, okay, you've got a cash value of, in there. I can't take the interest that's been put in there and take it out and use it for something different. But if they take money out of their cash, out of their fund, and invest it in a CD or anything that is their money that they invested, that's theirs. But the checking account, there's 8 checking accounts, and that's not divided up among funds. Every fund does not have its own account. It's all into one.
The council would have to do that though, wouldn't it?
We'd probably have to pass the ordinance.
Pass the
Yeah,
ordinance.
we-
The ordinance would
Then
have to go
but they would
first.
have to, they would have to spend the money. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, whether they chose to put it into, who's ever approved it or turned it down, they'd have to do that. So
Yeah, you
It'd
can
take
get a
both
month
bodies.
CD. You can get a
6
3-day CD if
Yeah.
you wanted to.
Yeah.
There's companies out here, they play that role right now with interest.
And that's what we're doing, and keeping it in one larger sum is allowing, it's easier than trying to say, I've got every little chip that I need to invest in. They take one big block.
And you get a better rate also.
And I know the treasurer is not here, and I really don't want to speak on her behalf, but I know that myself and her have been working, and she has established to where we have our investment checking accounts, and to where she has set up to where now she is vividly looking at each bank, including the bond bank, as to, okay, this month, this bank is offering higher rate. She's going to move our investments to that account. Okay. And then next month, this bank might be, she's working diligently to grow our
Make
cash.
money.
It beats a tax increase.
Yeah.
If she can pick it up on interest, it beats a tax increase.
Beats taxing the citizens.
So,
I wanted to update you guys on community crossings. I talked to NDOT last week, and we should have our notice to proceed later this week, they said.
Okay.
So we get started on paving.
Is E&B ready to start?
I don't know.
Less that it quits raining?
I talked to them, and they said, when you get your notice, we'll set up a schedule.
Okay.
And the distress road loan, they told me 4 weeks ago that that's went to central office, and they are working on the processing the loan.
Okay.
So that should be.
So you've got right now probably what, $130,000-$40,000 that, I see, that's what you lost. I'm just thinking what our match was. We moved for the full $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Over.
We were awarded $1 million, but our
Yeah.
bids came in less. So
Yeah,
we're going-
so you've got some excess money that we set aside for the match,
Mhm.
still in the account. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Let's have a great. Come up, he's been here.
We're about done.
Greg, are you?
Yeah, come on up.
Where's he at on this?
He's not, but he is now.
You're gonna be 9A.
Oh, thank you. Roughly 2-3 weeks ago, I was out at Rome mowing there at our park, Wilkerson Park. One of the residents came over and said that he pointed to some ground back behind Wilkerson Park. If you come down the road towards the river, if you look to your left, you'll see a few campsites real close to the road. That belongs to Willard Wilkerson, to the best of my knowledge. And then you'll see Wilkerson Park there, which is ours, belongs to the county. Right directly behind those properties is a bunch of ground that I guess came up for sale last year and was purchased. And
Was it farm ground or what was it?
it wasn't farm ground. It just campsites, just various campsites here and
Had they
there.
mowed it, just
Yes.
just grass? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, anyway, this resident pointed out to me that the new property owner is putting in a big campground, and there's going to be 128 sites there. I've noticed since coming, going, visiting the park, doing stuff to it, it looks like there's roads, old roads. I don't know whether they're town roads or what, but there are roads being developed, new gravel's put down. There's some trees that's been ripped off, looked like maybe by a backhoe maybe or something,
They've been
or
uprooted.
a track hoe. I don't know about the uprooted. When I
I've seen
first seen them, the trees were just snapped off, but they could have been since then.
I've seen them.
I spoke with our planning and zoning, Junie Bogus, and he is not aware of anybody coming in looking at permits or visiting planning and zoning. So just letting you know.
I do know that down there is flood zone,
To my knowledge, it's all
It is
floodplain
flood
out
zone.
there.
and it is also residential. It's zoned
Residential.
zoned residential.
So does anyone have a contact for the gentleman that's doing the work?
There's a video on YouTube.
I'll send it to you.
What we need to do is reach, because I think if it's a big development, the State Board of Health, I think, has to issue permits.
Well, he's actually talking in this video about 2 bathhouses with 4 showers, 4 commodes.
Do
And
you know the name of this person?
I think
don't-
if you look at the video, it starts off with the developer, and he mentions the guy's name
Mhm.
shortly after the video starts.
That's where we need to reach out to him to make sure that he
I know there's
understands
some-
what's required.
Well, I think
Best Oak LLC is who owns the property.
Steve has called a couple of times, and
I'll call and left 2 messages and I have to return my call.
Right.
Do you have a mailing address for him? Okay, we need to have the attorney send them a certified letter,
Mhm.
so they're made aware of what they need to do in order to stay in compliance.
I do know that they have been, it's not a bridge, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, it's a box culvert. They have been driving D8 bulldozers, pulling them on trailers across their ukes and all kinds of heavy equipment. And I went out there myself and looked, and they're tearing it up. It's getting tore up.
So is that a county road?
And
Hmm.
the state says there's no weight limit on the culverts, correct? On the box culverts. But something needs to be done, because if they tear that up,
Is there a weight limit on that road? I know years ago when they mined coal here, they used to make the mines put bonds on those roads. So there's nothing. Okay.
if that culvert caves or whatever, those people have no way to get out that live back there. They're stuck. And I don't know what's going on. And what concerns me too, the park is there, that has a restroom. And he's talking about building these other bathhouses and restrooms. Well, if they're down on the other end and you're camping down here, you're not going to go down to the other end. You're going to use our county restroom.
more likely usage of the park will increase, which is fine. I mean,
Right.
we want the parks used. So
Right.
the campground's probably gonna be a good thing. It'll be good for tourism stuff.
Sure
but
it
you just
will.
want them to do it the right way.
I just want him to do it legal, and like you say, if we have that area right there and they use our camp area, or use the restrooms and stuff, if something gets tore up, that's on the county. That's not on him. That's on the county.
Yeah, you're right. We want something like that, but they have to go through the right channels. So that's
Because
what trying to get them there. So
I know the campsites that's up there going in across 64. They've been, a year now trying to get all their permits?
It's been a while.
Well, if you would forward them the video,
I will.
they pretty much explain in detail what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
with the
We just
property.
need to have a contact so we can
Oh, yeah,
mail
I
them
think he said
certified.
he don't
Okay.
have much. Yeah,
I'll forward it to you.
yeah, I seen it.
And Steve,
I
if you
haven't
have the
seen it.
contact, whatever, I'll get it to Andrew and send an email what we need to do to make sure they're aware of, and then
They're on
We'll see where
Hurst
it goes.
Parkway in Louisville.
the actual developer or the owner,
The owner,
depending on how that's working.
Best
Thanks, Greg.
LLC.
Thank you, Greg. I'm
Best
sorry I didn't have.
Oak LLC.
The next item we have up here is mitigation, and that's the bat, and I was hoping someone would be here. My assumption is that down at Troy, and it's a small area,
Mhm.
and I think it's close,
Go ahead.
close to where the Foundries monofill was.
Yes.
I think they still have one that's pending at the Web Wheel site. But
I haven't heard anything else. I just didn't know if you guys had.
let's table that if no one has a problem, to make sure my assumptions are correct before we vote on something that. But I think it's on the bat mitigation for the area next to the Foundry down in Troy, and it's a minimal amount of area. And I'm thinking that Andrew will be at our next meeting. I think he's been working with PCDC on that issue. So
Okay.
no one has a problem, we'll table that to the next one.
Yeah.
Um,
We should, I think. So.
And then the next item we have up there is the AIC Annual Conference. And I think Chris is probably wanting to go yay or nay.
Well, I just need to know, the AIC Annual Conference is September 25th through the 28th. It is at French Lick this year. Registration is already opened. The early bird registration discount ends August 18th. So I was just telling all the commissioners and council if they're wanting to go, I'll just register everybody at once, just to let me know. And then if you are choosing to stay, the deadline for discount rooms is 8:30, August 30th.
It's a good conference.
So I think
Just
that's
let me know, email me and let me know if you're planning to go.
I'm busy. I can't make it.
Randy,
So can't
okay,
make it.
okay. Okay, just let me know.
That's it, isn't it?
Yes.
I get
Having nothing else on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to end this lovely meeting.
I make a motion.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
What's he gonna do now?
I gotta make sure we.
Thank you for staying